Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're making some more budget-friendly fall DIY home decor items. We're crafting through my stash, doing it on a budget, using Dollar Tree items and other items that are fairly easy to come by. So I hope that you enjoy this and maybe consider recreating some of them yourselves. Let's get started. These chalkboard tags, I think they're called, chalkboard ornaments. They're from the Dollar Tree. They came in a 5-pack. I've had them in my stash for a while. We're going to use all 5 of them. I'm going to use some lightweight spackling from Dollar Tree to fill in the hole. For some reason, I've done that a lot and it's not usually that hard, but when I was putting my finger on the other side of the ornament, when I moved it, it was like pulling the spackling out. So it took me a second, but we got all of those holes filled up. You could also try using hot glue. And I'm just going to give that a light sanding once it's dry, and this is just going to make those holes disappear. Now, we are going to do some of them in the front, some in the back, because I wanted the stems going in different directions, so I flipped some of them over. I'm taking 3 of them and putting a good coat of Mod Podge, and I'm using this burlap fabric that I have, and we're going to Mod Podge that on with a hefty coat on top. You need a lot of Mod Podge to kind of soak in through the fabric and have that dry, because once it's dry it will be hard and it'll be easier to trim off. So I'm putting a lot of Mod Podge down and just really pressing with my paintbrush to smooth it out. As you can see, I'm holding down on the other 2 while I was doing this because I just was trying to get it to stick, because it's a thick fabric, it's a stiffer fabric. So not hard to do, but uses a lot of Mod Podge. And then on the other side, I am painting them with Pumpkin by Waverly. This did take, I think, like 3 coats. I probably could have sanded them down a little bit more to make the chalkboard a little bit lighter and cover better. But you could also just use the wooden pumpkins that are from Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby. But I was just using what I had in my stash. Once that burlap and Mod Podge was dry, we're going to trim off the extra fabric. I did not use like a knife, like an X-Acto knife or anything, so I'm just going back and forth between a couple pairs of scissors. It was a little hard up here by the stem to get it nice and close. So when I got to this point, I did try sanding it down. It's a little harder with burlap than other fabric, but I just worked until I cut it all the way around. It doesn't have to be perfect, although I have to say it looks pretty darn good. And I decided to do the burlap on the back side because obviously it's see-through, but you could also just use one and paint it white or something like that so that whatever you see through looks this way. I am going back with a little bit of Mod Podge. There's a couple spots around the edges that were coming up, and I just wanted to seal it in really good. Sorry for my voice. I have a little bit of probably just allergies, and I'm a little bit more stuffed up than normal. Anyways, just thought I'd give that disclaimer. So in my decor, I had made this for the summer for my patriotic decor. And when I was going to put it away, I was like, I want to just make a reversible sign. So you could make your own banner. These wooden banner pieces can be found at most craft stores. And I just made some tassels and put those in between. So that was my inspiration for it, because I was like, I want to do the other side. Because I use my patriotic decor for all of summer. So at the end, just flip it around and you have this. And I didn't want any words on this one. I wanted to keep it nice and simple, so I just did them every other with the different colored pumpkins. And then I did just take a thread from that burlap fabric and just made a tiny shoestring bow for each of my orange ones, just because I just thought that was a nice little detail while still keeping this pretty neutral. I like color for the holidays, but it's really nice to have some neutral stuff mixed in so that it's not like over the top. My little pick tool from the Dollar Tree, I love having this on hand. If I'm gluing something down while the glue is still warm, I use my little pick to pull that out, along with many other things. It's a handy tool. So here is how the banner came out. It's simple, but it's got that pop of orange, and I really like how this came out. You could do all sorts of fabric, different color paints. You can make the banner out of different things. It doesn't have to be these wood pieces. I think they're just stained with antique wax. And I have it hung up here on an old desk that was my husband's grandmother's. And I just love using this desk to decorate with. And I thought this banner looked absolutely perfect on there, because I don't actually use the inside of the desk. We use it just for decor at this time. Let me know what you think of the banner. For this next one, I have this wooden box. This was from Dollar Tree. It is from Dollar Tree, but I've previously DIY'd with it. I pulled off stickers. We're just redoing it. So I sanded it down and I'm just giving it a coat. I think that's Territorial Beige by Apple Barrel. And I just wanted to give it a good coat because we're going to wrap this with burlap. And I didn't want you to be able to see anything through it. So I'm just trimming this down to size. This is going to be rough, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Not rough. It's going to be rustic. I'm using some hot glue, and we're going to hot glue the bottom. Now remember, I'm working on a silicone mat, so it's okay, but that hot glue is going to go through your burlap, and I knew that, but see, I just rubbed that with my fingers and it comes right off. I don't mind. You can see a little bit of the burlap or the glue through the burlap, but in the end, you really can't, you don't notice it. So I'm just using a little bit of hot glue. I'm working on a couple of the corners, and then I'm going to fold it over and just glue it down to look like we're wrapping this little box. It's too stiff to just grab it and like pull it up like you were wrapping like a sack. It's a little too stiff for that. So I'm just kind of folding it over in different places. It's not all the same. Trying, be careful not to burn yourself. Use some tools, use some silicone fingertips, which I should have done, because obviously the glue is going to come through the burlap. But I'm just going around. I didn't want it to all look the same on all four sides. I want it to look like it was just folded up around it. So I'm just using hot glue to help hold it because, like I said, it's a stiffer piece. Now I'm recreating something that I had seen online somewhere. I don't remember if it was like on Etsy or a store's website. I don't remember, but I remember seeing it and I was like, oh, I think I can make this. And I did. I really, really love how this one came out. So I'm showing you how I was doing it just to kind of show you got to work with it a little bit, but it's not hard. It's not complicated. Something else that's not hard and complicated is subscribing. So if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button and then turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on my future videos. That is how YouTube works. If you want to see my videos in the future, you got to do that. And that's just the deal if you're not familiar. All right, so I took a piece of floral foam and put that in the bottom. I did glue it down. You don't necessarily have to do that. And then I just went to my stash. I just went to my, like, just whatever picks I had, and I pulled them apart to look like I wanted this one. I pulled the pumpkin off because I didn't want an orange pumpkin. I wanted this one to be a little bit more neutral and rustic with a tiny bit of color from those leaves here. So I think all of these picks are from the Dollar Tree, but I may have pulled some from Hobby Lobby before, but I'm just cutting them up. When you cut them up, they go so much further. So I was just rearranging them, took off some of the orange leaves on these wheat picks. You know, make the florals work for you. You don't have to use them as they come. And I knew that I would be covering up that floral foam, so just kind of kept squeezing that in to see how that looked before I secured it all down. And then I have these like sweater-like pumpkins from Dollar Tree. They have a clip on them. First, I was going to just try clipping it on one of the stems, but I really wanted it a little bit more flat. So all I did was cut off the clip, put a little bit of hot glue. I didn't want the whole fabric to come off. And then I just took this is a piece from one of the floral stems that I cut off and pushed that in. I did use my scissors to push it in because it is a sharp, stiff wire inside of it. But you could use a little wooden skewer or something like that as well. I was just using what I had. I considered using a green pumpkin too, but I decided not to. Just use the like cream neutral one. And now I'm putting a little bit of hot glue around the floral foam to just push that in with my scissors to hold it in because I didn't want any of the floral foam to be seen. And then I did just take a string from the burlap and tied it around, really just to help hold it all in place and finish it off. But the hot glue did most of the work, and that was it. I love how this little arrangement came out. Let me know what you think about it. True confession, I decorated my home for fall, not all of it, but most of it. And as I was doing that, I was going through and finding some of these pumpkins that I bought. This is either Dollar Tree or Walmart has them for like 98 cents. And I was like, it's cute, but I don't love this shade of orange. So I pulled out some pumpkins from my decor stash and I was like, I'm just going to redo some of these. So I'm giving this a really good coat of white paint. I am sorry if you hear some noises. I'm not really sorry, but I'm explaining it because I am in a house currently with a lot of people. So I gave that 3 coats of paint, and then I did paint the stem a little bit just because, and I'd gotten a little white paint on it. And I'm taking a sticker from the Dollar Tree and putting this on here. Now, I would recommend putting Mod Podge down first. These stickers stick really good, but when you are putting it on a curved surface, it wasn't as great. So I wanted to Mod Podge over it to help seal it down, but my sticker kept popping up. So I was like, okay, let me just put some Mod Podge underneath. And then I ended up tearing my sticker. It turns out I had another P in my stash, so that worked out great. But put a little bit of Mod Podge down first just to help it hold better on all of these curves. And probably it would be good to do that and then let it dry a little bit before painting over top, because then it's moving around, but it's okay. I fought with the Mod Podge, I fought with the sticker. We eventually got it where we wanted it. And I thought this was really cute. I've seen these in stores, just like kind of the monogram pumpkins. This is going to work great on my tiered tray. You could do any color. I went for the white. It looks a little bit more like a plaster or ceramic pumpkin in my opinion, but it's just one of those thin, really light ones. It's not going to get broken. And then I had to touch up the top because I did, when I painted the stem, I did get a little bit more brown paint on there. So you paint and then you fix up what you messed up. That is it for this one. Let me know what you think. I think it was a fun but super easy and quick DIY to do with those really, really inexpensive pumpkins. This next one, I picked up these pumpkin picks from Hobby Lobby last year on clearance. They were really not expensive at all, and they have a really strong pick. This is like a metal pick that's screwed in, so I'm going to take that off because we don't need them, at least not all of them. And then I'm mixing some orange paint that I had mixed up, so I'm not really sure. I don't remember what colors it was. I was just using up stuff I had left over because I don't like to waste paint, especially when I'm mixing it. And I mixed in a little bit of clear wax from Waverly because I wanted this to be easy to wipe it back. So 2 of the pumpkins we're going to leave the natural color, and then this one I painted with the orange, and then I'm just wiping it back so that all of that great detail comes through. I wanted to see all of the brown design. I didn't want to lose any of that. So I didn't want to do a fully neutral DIY, but I didn't want to do like loads of color. Although you could do all 3 pumpkins a different color if you wanted. Anyways, then I was looking and I was like, this territorial beige, wow, matches this perfectly. So I use that to stain some beads. I am using a baby wipe, and I end up taking them off this is one of the stakes that those pumpkins were on. And I end up just doing it this way. You can do them in a bag. You can do them in the lid of a box and roll them around. You could just paint them, whatever. These beads tend to not take the paint as well in the center. So you'll notice it almost looks like a little stripe on the center, but I don't mind that look. And I'm going to use my little ruler I think it's actually from Dollar Tree, to help me get these perfectly straight. And we are going to put 3 beads in between them, and we're going to attach this metal bracket. I want this to be like a shelf sitter, and I wasn't sure how the hot glue would work with them, so I am using some household like Gorilla Glue and then also some hot glue, and then we're going to hover them down with these strips of burlap or canvas that I clipped off. It's canvas. And you could also just use a wooden skewer, but I'm just using the metal pick that they came with. I don't know, maybe the wooden skewer would have been easier to attach, but this did work. I did attach them all. And I just put the strip all the way across the back of the pumpkin so everything would look kind of uniform. Just be careful because hot glue is kind of oozing out. So I'm just going to scrape off any of that excess hot glue and be careful to not burn myself. And we're just going to go all the way across. And I did that with the 3 beads in between each pumpkin, but make sure they were really close together. I did not want there to be any gaps. I was hoping the sign would stand up on its own, but it did not. So I'm just using some Jenga blocks on the back. You could also use some like wooden cubes from Dollar Tree, but these are those mini tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. And I'm just standing it up as I'm attaching it to make sure that I'm attaching it at an angle that this piece will stand up the way that I want it to. And that is all for this one. I thought this was really pretty. This will be really nice on a shelf, or I don't know, I guess a shelf or a table, some type of fall decor landscape. But this was super fun to do. So let me know what you think about this one down below. All right, now we are using one of those carvable pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. You can find them in white. It's a major score, but they do also have them in an orange. And in a previous video of mine, a subscriber said suggested trying to sand off the seam on the pumpkin to see if that would make it less visible. And I was like, that's a really good idea. So I would say it worked. I'm using a nail file, and I didn't disguise it completely, but it definitely helped. So I would say to give that a try. So thanks for that idea. I don't remember who it was, but thank you. And now we're going to give this a coat of some orange paint. This again was something that I had mixed up for another project. So it's Pumpkin by Waverly mixed with maybe some white. But I did decide to ultimately put some texture on this pumpkin. So the second coat, I added in some baking soda. This is really, really thick, but I'm going to brush this on. I am going to use this to help cover that seam as well, what the sanding didn't work or didn't cover. I probably could have sanded it a little bit more. I was just kind of experimenting it for the first time with it for the first time. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. And make sure you clean off your paintbrush very well right after using that baking soda mixture. I have this little spindle in my stash, and I thought part of this would work really great for a stem on my pumpkin. So I'm using my little miter box saw, and we're going to cut down a piece. That is what I'm going to use. Now, these carvable pumpkins are hollow inside. So I'm trying to cut off the stem here, but I didn't want to cut all the way through. Otherwise, there's going to be nothing for me to attach it to. My backup plan was if I made a hole, I would have just stuffed in some fabric or something, and that would have given me something to attach my stem to. This isn't going to be one that you want to like necessarily pick up by the stem. I mean, I did, but like long term, I'm not sure how it will work. But I used some household glue because again, I wanted a little something more than just the hot glue. But then I added hot glue, and I pressed down so that it got a good attachment, but I didn't press too hard because I didn't want it to fall through to the hollow pumpkin. And then to embellish, I'm making a little raffia bow. Well, not really even a bow. I'm just tying it around so that I was not too rough on the stem. I kind of wrapped it first, slid it over, and then pulled it tighter. Some of that hot glue was already still there and wet. And then I did add a little bit more, and I just trimmed that off. I wanted a little bit more of a messy, rustic look. I thought that looked good, especially with the spindle. And then I did decide to add some leaves. I have several bags of just miscellaneous greenery floral pick scraps that I love pulling from. So I'm just cutting off a leaf here, and I'm going to tuck that in. I like this little softer green, and be very careful to not burn yourself. And I didn't want to glue the raffia down flat, but I did want it to help cover up the leaf. So I'm going to add just a little bit near like the base and press that down, and only like a few of the bottom pieces of raffia really stuck down. The rest were still able to be free flowing because that was important. I didn't want it to be, super flat and stiff. And then I did decide to put 2 leaves on the other side. So I pulled off the plastic piece in the bottom of the leaves. That is often how they come on floral picks, and kind of folded it upon itself and tucked that in on the other side. You of course can do however you want. You can embellish with some pit berries or really anything. There's so many ways you can embellish this, but this is how I chose to do it. Let me know what you think of this pumpkin. I thought it was nice, farmhouse and rustic. I'm not sure why that first shot looked a little bit lighter, but let me know what you think. That's going to do it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new, and don't forget to say hello down in the comments. Let me know which one of these is your favorite, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.